Good evening, race fans, and welcome to another round of the 2022 Midwest Sim Racing Association Rapid Fire Pizza Nationals. We are here today at Pocono Raceway, 2.5 mile oval tri-oval that we are going to be racing here at today. My name is Mason Heimball with Team Goon Squad, bringing you the action here today as we get ourselves prepared and ready for the start of today's event. We have our drivers currently getting themselves gridded up and ready at the front of the grid here today. Starting off in row 1, the inside of row 1, the number 50 machine, Jeffrey Meyer. Matt Knight in the 25 car in the outside row of the front here today. Colby Babber in the number 10 machine. Currently the points leader in the championship, sitting in third place in the inside row of row 2, David Santini. The 79 car on the outside of row 2 with Evan Longacre. The number 95 machine on the inside of row 3 with Billy Fitzgerald, the 22 car on the outside of row 3. Matt White in 7th place, John Binder in 8th place, Barry Stevens in 9th, Jeff Hooper in 10th, Robert Cook in 11th, Chad, I'm going to butcher this probably, excuse me, Gunningsman in 12th place. Moving on down the grid here, Douglas Bell in 13th, Cody Giles in 14th, Mike Howerton taking 15th, Scott Stevens in 16th, Brent Wall in 17th, Chuck Waldrop in 18th, Chris Hansen in 19th, Greg Newsom in 20th, Richard Malagani in 21st, and Bill Dolph in 22nd. So as we are just awaiting for our field to make its way along with the pace car, and there you see the pace car taking it away with the field here. I'm going to take a lap around with the rest of the field here and get these drivers ready for the start of what will be 96 laps here tonight. I do believe, though, that it was initially a 90-lap race, if I am not mistaken. But we will find out ultimately what happens as we get prepared for the remainder of this race here tonight. So, Pocono Raceway, very, very fast track. Not a whole lot of banking opportunities. Well, not a whole lot of banking that these turns have to offer. You have to really be on your toes and keep yourself very well aware of your limits in these cars here today. A lot of drivers want to step out of turn 2, turn 1 even. Coming out of turn 1 extremely hot, scraping up that wall. Seen it happen numerous times, a few times in the past week or so. So we'll see if that trend remains true here tonight. The MSRA National Series, again, sponsored by Rapid Fire Pizza as well as Old School Ninjas. I'd like to give a shout out and a thank you to the folks over at Old School Ninjas and Rapid Fire Pizza for sponsoring this league, sponsoring this series, giving us an opportunity here to show everyone watching at home what these drivers have in store. So here we go. Green flag drops here for the very first time at Pocono Raceway. Into turn 1 we go. Jeffrey Meyer off to a very good start here in the lead. We've got a couple drivers too wide, looking a little bit further back. Might even be a little bit more action that we're seeing here develop. Down the long straightaway, heading into turn 2. We've got a few drivers as well back here. Look at this. We've got a gaggle of cars, 2 wide, almost 3 or 4 deep at one point. Number 11 car of Douglas Bell, dropping way down to the inside. Going through turn 3, and that's able to push his way up to the 51 machine of Mike Howerton. Jeffrey Meyer still holding on to this lead here as most of our field taking this single file approach now, getting themselves settled out, ready for what is going to be a long race here. 96 laps is not anything to shrug your shoulders at. It is going to be a long time behind the wheel here for these drivers. Let's see right now who is going to kind of be the big mover, who is going to win some games in the early stages of this race. I mean, drivers are going to eventually, I believe, have to come down through pit lane and get a fresh set of tires at least. 90 laps on the same set of tires, I can't imagine that's going to go very well here. But you can see just what I mean. Coming out of turn 3 here, some of these drivers get a little closer, close for comfort to that wall. And I mean, that's no exception. Turn 3 is no different from turn 1 or turn 2. It's just really build up a lot of speed through these turns. I mean, you just have these long straightaways to work with here at Pocono, and that just sometimes these drivers just kind of overestimate how quickly they're able to slow these machines down. But so far, the top 3, David Santini is the only driver to really move his way up here into that second place spot at the moment. But meanwhile, Matt Knight, Kobe Baber, side by side here, the number 10 machine down onto the inside. Through turn 3, out onto the front straightaway. The 48 car of Matt White also getting himself collected up here with the mix of drivers coming across the checkered line. They're going to take it 3 wide heading into turn 1. Kobe Baber backing off through that one. He does not want to get involved in any sort of incident here early in this race. Lap 4 of 96. Anything can still happen. There's plenty of opportunities for drivers to make mistakes. I mean, it's always a possibility, so you have to keep an eye on things and watch yourself as a driver, just making sure that you're staying consistent. Meanwhile, back here we've got a little bit of a love tap there from Mike Howerton to the 6th machine of Brent Wall here in 12th place. Brent doing a very good job keeping it together, though, keeping that car in a straight line, not letting the 51 machine rattle his cage there too much. But meanwhile, up front, we've got quite the battle for the lead. I mean, these two drivers pretty much in their own little groove here, but side by side, nonetheless, as we come through turn 1 out onto the long straightaway to turn 2. The 79 machine, David Santini, getting pushed out there through turn 1, but he's able to come down here. I don't know if he's going to have enough. Yes, he is. And it looks like Jeffrey Meyer might have led him past that time around. I'm not sure what that was, but Santini off to a very good start here, just showing his dominance here at Pocono, it seems. David Santini currently the 3rd place driver in the season standings at this point in time with 3 wins to his name, 556 points at this point in time. So for Santini, this would be a very big race to come away with a win with. Excuse me. Be able to tack on a few more points and push his way up possibly to that 2nd place spot where Evan Longacre currently holds onto that spot here in the number 95 machine, and he is not dealing with quite the same sort of easy race. Well, I don't want to say easy, but smooth racing that Santini and Meyer are currently experiencing, just with those two kind of in their own little pack here. Look at the gaggle of cars that we have here, kind of around the top 10, top 15 area. We're currently locked on with Evan Longacre here, the number 95 car, who we were just mentioning, is 2nd place in the season standings at this point in the season here at Pocono. This race here at Pocono, we saw the MSRA National Series out to New Hampshire Motor Speedway, where we saw Robert Norfleet, Douglas Bell, and Evan Longacre all take the top 3. So, coming from New Hampshire to Pocono, a very, very different kind of vibe that you have here between those two tracks. I mean, New Hampshire, relatively small oval, not a whole lot of speed that you can build up there, but when you come to places like Pocono, it almost kind of feels like a super speedway in some senses. Albeit that here at Pocono, you do have to get on that brake. You definitely can't take it full throttle like you would be able to at Talladega, Daytona. Wouldn't end very well for you if you were to attempt to do that in any of these cars. However, these drivers are still getting very, very quick behind the wheel here, showing some very, very impressive times at this point. So, looking at the timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen, you can actually see the times that drivers have put down in the last lap. We're on lap 8, and once David Santini, the leader, crosses the line, it'll bring us to lap 9 here. So, almost to that 10-lap mark, and right now I've got to be wondering when these drivers are actually going to start to think about coming down into pit lane and getting that fresh set of tires. Previous race that I've done here, I would say it'd probably be between the lap 30, lap 40 margin. I could be off by about 5 laps or so, give or take, but that should be a pretty good window, I think, for a lot of these drivers and for this field, particularly with this car. So I'm not sure exactly what we're going to see here. I mean, we could have a few different strategies being played out, and what I've seen so far with races at Pocono, the strategy game is always something that you have to consider, you have to keep your eye out for, because, you know, you might have a driver out there who's really just kind of chipping away laps, you know, just kind of staying clean, staying green, and taking advantage of those green flag laps. When it's time to come down into pit road, hey, you know what? It's a great time to take the undercut, and all of a sudden when it's time for everyone else to come down to the field at the end of the race, oh, look at this, I'm up in the top 5, the top 3, or hey, I'm the leader. So it's, again, strategy is going to be absolutely critical here. Kind of just taking a look through the field here, seeing where everyone is currently standing at this moment. And right now, we've kind of got a little bit of a separation happening between some of the field, not by much, but we're definitely starting to see the pace, the different paces of the field here tonight. So, and again, some of these drivers might be holding back. Some of them may be well aware that, hey, this isn't going to be a straight-up battle for the win. It's going to come down to a battle in the pits. That's pretty much what it's going to boil down to if things continue the way that they are right now. So 11 laps that we've seen green so far, everything is looking very promising at this point in the race, and everyone is looking off very consistent, very clean laps here. We've only seen a little bit of a scuffle between the 51 and the 6 machine. There might have been a couple more that we haven't caught on camera. However, nothing's come of it. No one has resulted in a collision or an incident, so really great to see. The racing's been phenomenal thus far, and I look forward to seeing what the rest of this race is going to hold for us. Pocono, you know, it's one of those racetracks where drivers, you either love it or you hate it. There's kind of no in between here with Pocono, at least that I found. You know, maybe you're a driver out there that's like, I don't mind it. Either way, point being, majority of the consensus for Pocono is that you either don't like it or you like it. So, point being, a lot of these drivers, well, a lot of the series that I've seen, a lot of the races that I've seen here at Pocono, you know, some drivers that are extremely strong in other tracks, or majority of the other tracks, you know, they come to places like Pocono and all of a sudden they're running in the midfield or towards the back. It's a completely change the dynamic of the race. It's always an interesting thing to see, but so far, I think for David Santini, Colby Babber as well, the leader in the championship standings at this point in time. It's looking pretty good. These drivers seem very confident, actually, in their ability here. So, I don't know. Maybe that's just the luck that I've had. Maybe not. Well, right now, we've got a little four-piece happening here with Jeff Hopper. That's Evan Longacre. Yes, it is. Evan Longacre in the number 95 machine, the second place driver in the point standings at this point in time. 14th place. So this is kind of a good example here of what I mean. Evan Longacre obviously doing very well in the season. He's been up there in the top 10 fairly consecutively throughout this season. So for Evan to kind of be running back here 14th place right now, it might come as a surprise to some people. And frankly, it is kind of surprising to see when you see these very strong drivers just kind of not really click for them coming to places like Pocono. So it's just really neat to see how a track can really affect a driver's ability to click off clean, consistent laps. Looks like John Binder, the 33 machine, sitting in that 8th place spot right now. Taking it across the checkered line here. Majority of these drivers going to be single file. We've got a couple drivers back here actually that are going to be side by side heading into turn 1. Let's actually go ahead and ride on board with one of these drivers here for just a moment and take a look and see. Oh, just what it's... Ooh, look at that. Evan Longacre, the 95 machine. Getting stepped out there for just a moment, keeping it together, though. Let's go ahead and ride on board here with Evan Longacre and just get more of an idea of what it's like taking it a lap around Pocono. Right on the tail of Greg Newsom here. You've got, it looks like Chuck Walter, the 07 car. Trying to get down onto the inside of the 95 here, but Evan's got the pace. Well, he's got the speed to be able to keep out in front of him here as he makes his dive down onto the inside of 17. Ooh, you can see that car wanting to step out there, and that's the same exact place where you'll oftentimes see a lot of drivers make that mistake, make that error. And ultimately, sometimes it's not even really an error. It's just the track is hot, the tires are hot, everything starts to feel like glass. And with how flat this track can be, all of that multiplied together, it's just a recipe for disaster, to say the least. But look at this, though. Around Greg Newsom, Evan Longacre goes, and that just made it look easy there as well, like he was just standing still. And I'm sure for Greg Newsom there, not too thrilled to have that pass happen, but now he's going to have to shake off Robert Cook, it seems, in the 64 DeWalt Toyota. Is that DeWalt? Nope, that is not DeWalt. That's Wrangler. Lap 17 of 16, or 9, lap 17 of 16, that was a great one. Lap 17 of 96 here. We've got a couple drivers kind of duking it out side by side, just depending on where you look, but a good majority of this field, they're all just still. Kind of just taking laps with each other, just flicking them off as much as they possibly can. Again, this is a long race that these drivers are going to have for themselves, so they have to keep that consistency up. They want to be there for the end, so you don't want to burn off your rubber too early. You don't want to put yourself in that situation where you're sliding up into the wall or losing control, trying to make it out of a turn because you just don't have any rubber left on that tire. So everyone here is going to be doing everything in their power to try and get themselves on the racetrack as long as possible, or maybe not. Maybe some of the drivers are going to try and then take that undercut strategy like we were talking about a little bit ago, and that might work out for some drivers. We'll just have to wait and see. Billy Fitzgerald here alongside John Binder side by side. We've also got a little bit of side-by-side action here between Mike Howerton as well as, I believe, Scott Stevens. Mike Howerton just staying right on the tail here of Scott Stevens as they come down the short straightaway. Out of turn 2 into turn 3. Mike not able to kind of keep that battle going there. Maybe even just kind of backing off and letting the race continue on here. But for the 55 of Scott Stevens, he's going to be up 7 spots from the start of the race here today. And the next hard charger after that, Brent Wall, the number 6 car in 9th place currently, sitting here in that top 10 spot. So he's moved his way up from 19th all the way up here into 9th. Is he going to be able to work his way up into possibly the top 5, maybe the top 3? We'll just have to wait and see. But looking at the top 5 currently, between John Binder and Cody Giles, it looks to be... Oh, we got someone in the wall here. Matt White, the 48 car, extremely caught up there into the wall. I believe that was coming out of turn 2. Indeed it was. So again, folks, you know, if drivers are not careful, if they're not hitting those marks consistently, that's one of the things that could happen here. And that maybe not even have been exactly what unfolded there, but for the 48 of Matt White, that's gonna be a tough one. But the race is still green. We're still racing. John Binder and Scott Stevens. These two are side by side for the battle for 10th place at the moment. Got Barry Stevens, Billy Fitzgerald, as well as Brent Wall up here ahead of them, all following along in a single file line at this moment. So, a little bit of real good side-by-side action here between the 22, Billy Fitzgerald, Brent Wall here. Fitzgerald able to get out ahead, out of turn 3, onto front straightaway, across the checkered line. That's going to put Billy into that 6th place spot. And again, for Brent Wall, you know, the driver who's now up into 7th place, going to be looking to try and work his way up into that top 5, and now getting closed out of that here as drivers making their way down through the inside. Brent Wall here, and here at Pocono, that inside line is exactly where you want to be. Brent Wall here. Not sure if that was a slip up there or what that was, but he dropped down to the bottom of the track there. Falling back to 9th place here, and not really able to click back in here. I'm not sure what happened here with Brent, but I don't know. I think he's going to take this opportunity to kind of just reset himself and say, hey, you know what? Let's try this again. So here he goes. Going to get right up behind the 55 of Scott Stevens and give it another roll here, but extremely see how quickly things can change here at Pocono and just how quickly, I mean, you can get put out of a position by making one mistake. That's all it takes. Oh no, right as we tune in to the 10 machine of Colby Babber, the current points leader, gets himself into the wall, coming out of turn 3, scraping up the side of that 10 machine. Hopefully there's no significant damage to that car, but man, that was a rough hit. Hopefully his pit crew isn't yelling at him right now, telling him he needs to come down into the pits. Because that was a rough hit. He's still tracking down Jeffrey Meyer here, down to the inside of turn 3. Jeffrey Meyer, real slow, it seems like, through turn 3 there, but not that could have just been the draft that both Douglas Bell and Colby Babber were forming there as they make their way down the front straightaway, heading into turn 1. Meyer going to try and get up to the rear end of the 11. Douglas Bell, and it even looks like Meyer might have some damage to that 50 machine as well here. Yeah, I think he does. Definitely has some pretty significant damage actually to that front end. I'm not sure where actually that stemmed from, but regardless of the matter, the 50, I mean, he's still up here in the top 5. I mean, having dropped down to 4th place from the lead. A tough thing to have happen, but he's not out of the race, so that's better than that, I suppose. So taking a look at the times that drivers are putting down here currently, looking like tires are starting to drop off here a little bit. I think the last time that we checked in with our lap times, it was about 55 seconds for most of our drivers. Now up to 56 for the majority of our drivers, actually for all of them it seems. The tires are definitely starting to get worn down. We're starting to see a little bit of sliding around happening throughout the field, but I don't know if they're going to really try and push it. Anything more than probably 40 laps. Again, I think between that 30 to 40 lap mark is when we're going to start to see drivers making their way down into pit lane. But speaking of which, John Binder, the 33 machine, going to make his way down into pit lane here. So I think that might be the start of our pit cycles here, possibly, maybe even a little early here for the remainder of our field. But it could be a good indicator that some of these drivers are going to be starting to think about, hey, it's time to come down into pit lane soon. For some of these drivers, that could mean, it could be real big moves for them if they play it right. So again, that strategy game it has to be on point for these drivers. If they want to make a move, they have to be confident. Again, I'd like to take this moment here to thank our title sponsors here for tonight's race, Rapid Fire Pizza, as well as Old School Ninjas. Big shout out and thank you to both of those sponsors for being on board for this series, allowing us to bring you the coverage here of the MSRA National Series. Lap 29 of 96 here, and you know, again, this whole field has done a phenomenal job just staying green this entire time, just clicking off consistent laps. Just we've seen a couple slip-ups here and there, but no cautions yet, which is always a good thing to see. But I mean, for the drivers that might be wanting to get this field restacked, that might not be what you want to see. It's still a long race left to go. We're gonna have to wait and see if there is caution here tonight, but right now it seems like everything is going to be looking relatively clear. You see Robert Cook, the 64 car. It's always interesting to see some of these drivers, just take it way down to the bottom, coming down that front straightaway, going into turn one, and just seeing them kind of slingshot their way around turn one there. So it's very interesting to see the different strategies that some of these drivers have. But again, a lot of this field might not want to push it as hard here in the early stages of this race. I mean, again, it's 96 laps, almost 100 laps here at Pocono, a 2.5-mile long track that really don't want to be making any mistakes on. Again, this field, right now it's looking pretty well spread out for a good majority of this field at the moment. I would show you our track map, but it's a little cut off at the moment, unfortunately. So, but you can kind of get an idea of it, I suppose, with turns 1 and 2 there. But yeah, you can kind of see the separation happening between the field at this moment in the race. So, this is where things can get really interesting for pit strategies because of just how much of that separation that we have here in this field. So drivers could decide to start coming down into pit lane now, and they could push their way up to the front, but it's a matter of can they hold it up there in the front for however many laps before the next time they need to come down to the pits. As we come out of turn 1 onto the back straightaway, the caution flag is going to fly for the lap 30 stage break that is set to run here. So while that's running, let's go ahead and run through the top 10, starting with the 07 machine of Chuck Waldron. This driver here, the 07 car, has moved up 10 spots since the beginning of the race, from P20 all the way up here to 10. Feeling like a pretty good race here for the 07 car tonight, and going to have another opportunity to be able to have another chance to move up even more positions here today. So great for Chuck Waldrop in the 07 machine to be up here in the top 10, moving up into 9th place. Barry Stevens in the number 78 car hasn't moved around any positions at all since the start of the race here tonight. So for the 78 car, it's been a consistent night here at Pocono, and I mean, for a race at Pocono, I think being able to take 32 laps and still hold on to the same position you started with That's not an easy feat, to say the least. Up in 8th place, it's Jeff Hopper in the 17 car, taking that 8th place spot. Only moved up 2 spots here so far, but again, is going to have another opportunity here to be able to move up even further. Here's we're going to have a few drivers, well, majority of our field making their way down through pit lane. So a couple other drivers also making their pit stops here. You can see the pit crew working on the 95 of Evan Longacre's car there as well. But it looks like he might be possibly serving a penalty of some sort. Some of these drivers seemingly being served a penalty of some kind, or maybe just taking a break from racing there for a moment. But so as we've had the top 10 kind of shuffle around here, we had Jeff Hopper in 10th place, Billy Fitzgerald in 9th, Barry Stevens in 8th place here, Scott Stevens taking that 7th place spot, Douglas Bell in 6th place, Cody Baber in 5th, Cody Giles in 7th, David Santini in 3rd place, Chuck Waldrop in 2nd, and John Binder in 1st. So again, John Binder opting to stay out for this time around. So I'm not sure exactly how this is going to, well, actually, no, he did come in early. I just realized that here as well. So for John Binder, the 33 machine is going to have a huge advantage here over the rest of the field. I mean, not by, well, actually, no, he should be okay. The difference between tires for John Binder and, I mean, the rest of the field, only about 7 laps difference. It's really not a huge change. Chuck Waldrop, though, the 07 car, opting to come down into pit lane here as we get ourselves ready for the next restart here. John Binder, David Santini up in the front row, Cody Giles, Colby Baber in the 2nd row, Douglas Bell, Scott Stevens in our 3rd row. As we make our way down the long straightaway into turn 2, and it'll be a short straight to 3. Now onto the front straight, across the checkered line, and we'll see that pace car make its dive down into pit lane. We'll be back to green flag racing here in just a few moments. Here we go through turn 3. Pace car making its dive. Green flag is dropped here once again at Pocono. John Binder, David Santini gonna take it side by side here. Very loosely here as well. They're not really fighting too hard for this lead here. David Santini kind of just taking it easy, not really trying to get too heavy, too hot on those tires. And I think for John Binder, those tires probably cooled off enough that it might be dealing with a little bit of the same issue here during that caution break. But John Binder is still holding on to this lead here, doing a phenomenal job. A single file up through the top 5, it seems. We've got a couple drivers side by side through the midfield. The 22 machine that we're looking at right now with Billy Fitzgerald makes his dive down through the inside of the 78 of Barry Stevens. He's going to push his way up into 7th place here. Down one spot still from where he started at the beginning of tonight's race in that 6th place spot, but Billy Fitzgerald, he has also been one of the drivers up here, kind of moving the groove and up here in the top 10 tonight. So very good racing here from Billy Fitzgerald, as well as really just the rest of the field. This entire field has done an incredible job of racing here tonight. Frankly, there's a lot of action happening right now on this restart. Very, very good thing to see here for this field. And up towards the front of the field, it looks like John Binder wasn't able to hold on to that lead for very long. He didn't catch the moment that he was passed there by David Santini, but now it's Cody Giles, who's made his way up into the 2nd place spot now. So John is also having to work his way around the 7 car, but meanwhile, while that's happening, Douglas Bell, the 11 machine, starting to squeeze his way down onto the inside of the 33. That was an interesting move there in just a second. Stacked up in a single file here once more. Let's go ahead, ride on board with one of our drivers. Let's ride on board here with Jeffrey Meyer in the number 50 machine, and let's take a lap around Pocono Raceway with Jeffrey Meyer. Job here. You can hear the screech of the tires as well as these drivers make their way through these turns, and I'm not sure actually. We'll have to listen here for a second. Okay, so I don't think that anyone here is going to be shifting at all. I thought for a moment that maybe we might see some drivers trying to get down into a lower gear, drop it down into, I actually don't remember how many gears these cars specifically have. I think it's either 4 or 5. Lap 40 of 96 here. Look at this stack of drivers that we have here at the moment. All trying to push their way out of turn 1 onto the long straightaway to turn 2. And just look at this gaggle of cars. John Binder, Billy Fitzgerald, both side by side. Jeffrey Meyer, Barry Stevens as well. Colby Babber, the 10 machine, currently holding on to that mid-place spot. He just has a swarm of drivers behind him, all trying to stack up and make that pass a little well, catch up to him at least. But Babber doing a great job keeping up that momentum, keeping that pace moving here. little bit of a tap here from Barry Stevens into the side of John Binder. Or I believe that was Billy Fitzgerald, excuse me, the 22 machine. Getting into the side of John Binder. We're going to have to get a replay of that and take a look here as the caution is going to fly for this one. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at our Team Goon Squad instant replay. All right, so taking a look at the instant replay here. Let's see what unfolds as we head into turn one. We're looking at John Binder, the 33 machine, the 22, Billy Fitzgerald. It's just a little bit too close, makes the contact to the left side of the 33. John Binder sends him spinning up into the top wall of turn one. Luckily, he's able to recover it down on the bottom of the track there, but not without suffering a little bit of damage here. See just a bit of that there on that 22 car, 33 car, excuse me. Not so much in the front, but that rear end is definitely not has seen better days. We're going to go ahead. Oh man, that's straight to the side wall there as well. But we're going to go ahead and get back to the live action. Lap 42 of 96 here as we come back from that caution. Or from the replay, excuse me. It's currently making our way around the field with the pace car in tow, as we always do. Making sure our drivers getting themselves stacked back up, ready to go for the next restart. While that's happening, let's take a look at our top 10 here. Since we didn't really get a good chance to go through it the last time for the stage break. Brent Wall, currently in our 10th place spot at the moment. Brent Wall, we've seen this driver just kind of slowly chipping his way up here to the front of the field. Again, moving his way up from 19th up here into 10th place. He's going to have another chance to make that even more tonight. So, lap 42 of 96, plenty of racing left to be had here. See if Brent Wall has got anything left in store in his bag of tricks here tonight. So Jeff Hopper in 9th place. Oh, Brent Wall is actually going to make his way down into pit road here. So that's going to change up our top 10 here even further. Colby Babber, Jeffrey Meyer, Brent Wall, Greg Newsom, Bill Dolph, Chris Hansen, John Binder. I think I already said John Binder twice. All of these drivers making their way down into pit lane here on this caution, which is kind of surprising. Seeing that most of these drivers have already come down into the pits once before, and looks like a majority of them actually are all getting fuel and tires. So I'm a little confuzzled by that one. Could be taking an undercut strategy here, but I'm not sure. It's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off. I do believe that once we come across the line here, once again, the lights should go off on the pace car, and this will be the last lap before we go back to green flag racing here at Pocono. And hopefully for these drivers, we'll get to see a long run up until the end of the race here. lights are indeed off. So as we come out of turn 1, long straightaway to turn 2 and out of turn 3, the pace car will make that dive once again. And frankly, with the racing that we've seen here today and only the one caution that we've seen come out tonight, really impressed with the racing here tonight. All of the drivers have done a phenomenal job handling this track. They make it look extremely easy, folks. And I can tell you, I can guarantee you actually, that it is not easy by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, sure, you know, I think most people could probably take it around the track here. We're currently going about 70, 80 miles an hour around the track at the moment. But once you step that up to about, let's say, top speeds we're seeing here today at around 184 miles an hour in that margin, things get a little bit more complicated when you're going that fast. So, you know, for these drivers to just make it seem as easy as it is just really impressive to see. All right, so pace car with the dive down into pit lane, and we're going to go back to green flag racing here as the green flag drops once again. Lap 45 of 96 here today. David Santini is going to take that lead here. Cody Giles, Douglas Bell going to be side by side as they make their way into turn 1. Oh man, a few drivers here. Oh boy, 3 wide in a couple different spots here in the midfield. Almost 4 wide. Robert Cook currently getting pushed by Mike Howerton in the 51 machine. Through turn 2 onto the short straightaway into turn 3. Ooh. Almost 4 wide there again, and they're 3 wide behind them. This only just gets wilder and wilder the more you look. There you see the 06 machine. Or 6 machine, not 06 machine, excuse me, Brent Wall. Trying to get right up to the tail end of Robert Cook. All of these drivers just trying to push each other, move their way up this field. Let's go ahead. I actually want to ride on board with another driver here. Let's actually ride on board with Brent Wall. Nope, that's not what we wanted to see. Oh man, as we come out of turn 2, getting a little bit of a wall scrape there to the inside of the back strip while the long straightaway to turn 2. No caution coming from that though. That was rough. Man, that is not what you want to see. And for Brent too, he has had such an incredible race here. That is crushing. Dropping all the way to 18. And I don't know what he's going to do to try to make that up. Look at the distance between himself and John Binder, the 43 car. Look at that. That is tragic. Meanwhile, here we've still got the drivers getting side by side here, but a lot of them getting back to that single file groove that we've seen throughout the night here so far. Let's take a look at the battle for the lead here at this moment, side by side. David Santini, Douglas Bell heading through turn 2. The 11 machine down on the inside here of Santini. He's able to get just far enough ahead that he's taking the lead at the moment. But will he be able to capitalize it? And there he goes with the move. up in front of David Santini, and it looked like David might have even backed off there a little bit, maybe hoping for a slingshot opportunity. You know, sometimes if you're able to kind of squeeze your way down onto the inside, look at this. Watch this move here from David if he tries it. He's just going to stay right up on the tail end of the 11 car. Man, oh man. Riding with the nose camera of David Santini here at the moment. Just getting a little bit of a different view here of what it's like. Here you see they get right up to the rear end. See how close they get to each other. You can see right underneath the 11. Absolutely phenomenal driving here from every single one of these drivers. Cody Giles, the 7 car, trying to get his way up here into that top 3. Well, he's in the top 3, but he's trying to get his way up here to the battle happening for the lead at the moment. Douglas Bell, still the driver on top of this race at the moment. Racing happening here for Jeff Hopper. Number 17 driver falling off a little bit. Look at this behind him, Greg Newsom, the 23, currently amongst the drivers that have moved up more than 10 spots throughout the race here tonight. Greg Newsom up into 11th place right now as he leads it out with Mike Howerton. As well, sitting in that 12th place spot. And you know, frankly, it's really interesting to see just how much this field can change through pit strategy and well, having the stage break as well just kind of really threw a wrench in the gears for a lot of these drivers and for their plans of tonight's race. Go ahead and ride on board for a moment with Colby Babber, actually, and let's just enjoy the sights and sounds here with Colby for a lap around Pocono and see what has he got planned here in that dive around Greg Newsom. We're trying to on the inside of Greg Newsom at the moment. You can see Jeff Hopper, Mike Howerton, just ahead of these 2 drivers. They're both side by side as well. Right as I say that, Greg Newsom coming out of turn 3 gets a little bit of the paint scraped off onto the wall there. Action that we've seen here, and I'm not surprised by that. But what I am surprised by is just how much this field has changed. I mean, folks, the top 5 has changed considerably. Douglas Bell, who started 13th, is up here leading the race now. David Santini, amongst some of the only drivers that are still up here, kind of in that top 5 region. Jeffrey Meyer, Evan Longacre both have fallen from that top 3 spot, or top 5 positions. Colby Baber as well suffering from the same fate. Currently watching Colby Baber at the moment. Right behind the 17 of Jeff Hopper, trying to crack his way back into the top 10 here by any means possible. Really, you know, it's a tough thing here in this point of the race where you get separated from a pack. Trying to get that time back is almost impossible sometimes, unless you're in a draft. And I think for some of these drivers, they would rather be in that draft and work together to kind of reduce that time. Sometimes it doesn't always work out that way, but I feel like that's what might be happening here in the case of Colby Baber. I mean, really just staying right on the tail. Well, no, actually. Lap 56 of 96, and Colby coming down into the pits here. Strangely enough, I'm not exactly certain why. Watching with Greg Newsom at the moment, just kind of taking a look at different drivers throughout the field at the moment, seeing where they're all stacking up and how they're faring here in this stage of the race. Douglas Bell, David Santini, Cody Giles, all of these drivers kind of remained in this top 3 spot, and then they continue to turn lap after lap here since the last caution. All 3 of them just going at it. Meanwhile, throughout the rest of the field, I mean, again, it's been a lot of just kind of patient, single file racing, just seeing what you can do here at this point of the race. I'm not sure if he just came out of the pits. It looks like he might. No, came in a couple laps ago, but I'm not sure if that's the reason why he was a little slow there down on the inside of turn 1. Following along with Mike Howerton as well. Not very many tight battles happening on the track at the moment. A couple drivers side by side here. Chris Hansen and looks to be Greg Newsom. Hansen here gonna back it off here as well, heading through turn 2. So really, I'm getting the gist here that not a lot of these drivers are too keen on wanting to take it too aggressively here. I mean, we've seen a little bit of solid side-by-side action, going 3 wide, even 4 wide in some cases, but really a lot of these drivers opting to kind of take it easy, not really pushing too aggressively on their opponents and just letting the race happen. Cody Giles, I mean, meanwhile, he's still right on the tail of Santini, but he's giving him plenty of room. Not really kind of trying to lock up bumpers at all, not trying to make any wicked dives down onto the inside, but Pocono really, you can't really necessarily do that, right? It's a tough track to make any sort of dives happen. You really have to play on the advantage of momentum, speed, and also hoping and praying that your opponent ahead of you makes a mistake. Maybe they overshoot the braking zone and, going into a turn, or maybe they get a little too hot on the gas coming out of it and they lose the rear end for a moment and have to correct it, and all of a sudden they just lost half a second. It's a real game of chess that we have here at the moment. Currently looking with Barry Stevens, and it looks like a few more drivers coming down into the pits here as well. David Santini is coming in, Barry Stevens, Billy Fitzgerald. Lap 62 of 96, and I don't know what the strategy is here for some of these drivers. I mean, well, actually, maybe I do. So for David Santini, Billy Fitzgerald, I mean, they might be trying to play an undercut strategy here. They might be thinking, I might be able to come away with some positions here by taking this undercut. And here Douglas Bell's going to come. So actually, now that I'm looking at it, it was about 30 laps since the last time these drivers have come down into the pits, so that does make sense. Douglas Bell, Cody Giles, both of them making their way down, but meanwhile, that's going to put Jeffrey Meyer up at the top of the field in the 50 machine, and last time he came in was lap 42, or 42, excuse me, so he won't have to come in for about another 10 laps, around that lap 70 mark is when we'll expect to see Jeffrey Meyer to come in. So I don't know if that's exactly going to play out in his favor here. But we'll have to wait and see exactly how much it's going to help him staying up in whether it's the top 5 or the top 10, wherever he happens to fall once things are all said and done. As they have both made their way in and out of pit lane. Lap 64 of 96, and the action has not stopped between these two. But for Douglas Bell, he was able to get out ahead of David Santini, but now David down on the inside heading through turn 1. He is short-lived here. And now is going to take it ahead of Bell here out of turn 1 onto a long straightaway into turn 2. More drivers making their way down into the pits here as well. Evan Longacre, Chuck Waldrop. Both of these drivers just kind of exchanging hands turn after turn, it seems like. It might have been a little close there for comfort. Rest of the field, well, good portion of the rest of the field actually making their way down into the pits. Mike Howerton, Robert Cook, Chris Hansen here as well. So that only leaves, it looks like Jeff Hooper, excuse me. Lap 67 of 96 here, and right now this is kind of where things get really interesting now that we've seen green flag pit stops. The field has spread out rather significantly. The 50 machine of Jeffrey Meyer, meanwhile, he has been able to stay up here and retain this lead while now. You know, still kind of taking that undercut strategy like I mentioned. He came in lap 42. He's still going to have to come in here in the next probably 4 or 5 laps. But the interesting thing to kind of note here is that between Jeffrey Meyer and Jeff Hooper, there's about 4 seconds separating these two, but what's even more interesting is the distance between Greg Newsom, the 17 driver of Jeff Hooper, is almost about 14.5 seconds. Now, if Jeffrey Meyer can make his way down into the pit successfully, I mean, the total pit lap time, he's going to be in there for about a minute. So he's going to lose some spots, but I don't know. There might be a chance that he won't go down the field too far. But we'll just have to wait and see how that unfolds here. Jeff Hooper, though, he's going to make his way down into the pits. Lap 69 of 96 here. And here we see Greg Newsom, the 23 driver. He's got a little bit of lap traffic ahead of him, actually. John Binder, that's 17th place driver at the moment. A lap down currently. We saw John Binder involved in an incident earlier on in the race. He was clipped by the 22 driver, Billy Fitzgerald. And here we have Jeffrey Meyer taking that time to come down into the pits. So let's see exactly where he is going to find himself once things are all said and done. So here he goes. Hopefully the pit crew is on top of their game here today, because here comes the rest of the field. And at the moment, he's already into that 5th place spot. And as the rest of more of the field is making their way. Oh man, look at that. Just doing everything he can to get back out onto the track as quickly as he possibly can. Heading up to the blimp camera just to take a look and see kind of a different perspective, I suppose, on this field, and just see how far this field has really kind of spread out here. And there you see it on the top of your screen, 26 laps left to go here tonight. Douglas Bell, Greg Newsom, both drivers that have moved up considerably throughout tonight's race. Douglas Bell up 12 spots, Greg Newsom up 20 since the beginning of the race here tonight. So both of these drivers doing everything that they possibly can here to keep these leads. And right now, I think with 25 laps left to go, I think they might just have enough to make it all the way until the end, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Newsom, meanwhile, he was starting to fall back there a little. Not too much. We saw him up here in the top 3, but kind of not sure if he's just having a hard time here in this final stint of the race here. The track might be starting to get a little bit warm out there. I'm not 100% certain on that. Laps left to go here. I'm gonna be very curious to see just what this field here is gonna do. I mean, I have a feeling there might be. Close. It's really close. I mean, I want to say that there's maybe a chance that drivers are going to come down the pits one more time. It might be cutting it real close for them, possibly, but I could be wrong. Seeing Scott Stevens down onto the inside of Barry Stevens. almost door to door here as they come out of turn 3 out onto the front straightaway. 22 laps left to go here. And the action hasn't stopped for a lot of this field. It's just, oh, that didn't look too good between those two. Oh man, what's happening between Mike Howerton and Barry Stevens? Let's ride on board from the roll bar here of Jeffrey Meyer and see just exactly what unfolds here. Up to the tail of the 51 of Mike Howerton, just kind of sliding around him too. That was quite the move from Jeffrey Meyer. And I'd like to take this time here again to thank the series sponsors, Rapid Fire Pizza, as well as Old School Ninjas. Great to have them on for the season and then for allowing ourselves to be the one to bring you the action here for the MSRA Rapid Fire Pizza Nationals. Wide here as we come through turn 3. Jeffrey Meyer alongside with, I believe that was the, nope, that's the 55 of Scott Steffens there. Right now with 18 laps left to go, Billy Fitzgerald, who's started out in 6th place, I mean, he's up here in 4th and also has been involved in at least one incident that I can recall with John Binder in the 33 machine. Saying John's name wrong. I believe it's John Binder, if I'm not mistaken. I do apologize, John, if you're watching. I will learn these names. I will get them right, I promise. Mike Howerton, Scott Steffens, both still side by side with each other, battling for that 7th place spot at the moment. The 51 machine is going to be the one on top of it as they work their way through turn 2. Probably a little bit close for comfort on that one, but coming out clean from it nonetheless. The 95 there at Longacre stepping out for just a moment. Keeping it corrected though, and on the racetrack, Jeff Hooper, excuse me. Coming out through turn 2 onto the short straight to turn 3. He saw that happening too from Evan, and he went down to the bottom of the track and was like, nope, I don't want nothing to do with that. Laps left to go right now. Taking a look at the leader, Douglas Bell. We haven't taken a look at our leaders here for quite some time because, frankly, the distance between them has grown quite significantly. Between Douglas Bell here and Cody Giles in second place, it's about a second and 3/4 that we're seeing between these two at the moment. Between Davidson Tini in second place, it's over 4 seconds. So, I mean, for these top 3, unless something dramatic happens here, I don't know if we're going to really see these guys get stacked back up and see a battle here for the end. We're really going to have to keep our eyes peeled here and wait and see if anything happens. Laps left to go. Everyone is just staying so clean and consistent right now. No one's really putting any pressure on anyone. Everyone is just keeping themselves green and clean here. Mike Howerton here with a challenge to Billy Fitzgerald. There's a little bit of contact between the two. They bump doors. Nothing else coming from that, though. Mike Howerton charging his way, though. With 11 laps left to go, it's like, hey, you know what? It's time to turn the burners on here. He is stepping away from this field now. The 07 of Chuck Waldrop down on the inside of the 55 of Scott Steffens. I do believe a caution has been thrown here. As the field has slowed down. Indeed, the yellow flag is flying, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at the instant replay and see exactly what unfolded. Taking a look at John Binder here, the number 33 machine, coming into turn 2. Let's see what unfolds here. Oh, just gets into the wall out of 2 just a little bit, but that was a nasty hit. Down onto the bottom of the racetrack there. Oh man, that is going to be tough for John Binder. But we're going to go ahead and get back to the live action here and see what unfolds for the remainder of this race here tonight. All right, so as we just came back from that instant replay, John Binder, the 33 machine, 18th currently. He, unfortunately, I think is going to be the end of his race here tonight at Pocono after not once, but twice. One time not of his own fault, the second time can't exactly say the same, but unfortunate results here for the 33 driver. But 9 laps left to go here. And there it is, folks. That's what I was expecting to see, was a lot of the field wanting to come into the pits at least one more time before the end of the race and get that fresh set of tires to stay out here all the way until the end. So we're going to have to see how this is going to play out for this field as we get a look here of the drivers making their way into the pits and then get to see them make their way out. Currently, Douglas Bell, Jeffrey Meyer, meanwhile, both have stayed out, first and second place respectively. The number 11 driver has moved up from 13th all the way up here to the lead, and with only a few laps left to go, it's going to be really interesting to see how this is going to play out for these drivers. Now that the field has made their way out of the pits, Colby Babber's going to take that third place spot. Billy Fitzgerald in fourth, David Santini in fifth. That'll be our top 5 here going into this next restart. The lights are off on the pace car, so the next time we come out of turn 3, the green flag will be out. We'll be back to green flag racing here once again. Actually, now that I'm looking at my notes here that I have for tonight's race, it does appear that because tonight's race was supposed to be 90 laps, I believe that because we are going to be coming back to green right at lap 90, the race is going to be extended. To lap 96 here, if I am not mistaken. So that is why we still see the 7 laps left to go. So the caution will come back out. It will stay out. If that is the case, as we come out of turn 3, I do believe though. Okay, so the pace car does make its dive back in. We go back to racing here. Okay, I'm a little interested to see what's going to happen here, but we're going to call it as. Oh, okay, that's why. All right, that's why there was a caution here. All right. Let's go ahead and get an instant replay of that. And here we go, coming through turn 3, out onto the front straightaway. Let's see exactly what went wrong for this restart here. We're looking at Bill Dolph in the 66 machine. Just pay attention to the 25 driver of Matt Knight here as well. Right there. Oh, the 07 machine. Chuck Waldrop getting a majority of that contact there, getting spun around on the checkered line. That is going to be the result of our caution here at the 90 lap mark here for tonight's race at Pocono. But let's go ahead and get back to the live action here and see what the rest of this race has to offer. Alrighty folks, welcome back after that instant replay. Here as the caution's going to be out with looks like 6 laps left to go. So while that's happening, we're going to go ahead and take a very short commercial break, and then when we come back, we will be back with the green flag, and hopefully the last one here at Pocono Raceway. Stay tuned. We'll be right back for more iRacing right here on Team Goon Squad. Down the short straightaway, heading into turn 3. Pace car is going to make its dive down into pit lane. And a 3-lap shootout all the way until the end here. Let's see who's going to come away with a win here tonight at Pocono. for the three-sided shape 225. Douglas Bell, Colby Babber, Jeffrey Meyer, all in the top three here. The 7 machine, Cody Giles, he's trying to make a dive all the way down to the front here on the inside. 2 laps left to go here at Pocono. Let's see what these drivers have in store. It is all or nothing. Jeffrey Meyer up on the top. He's blocking Colby Babber from moving any further up, and that looked like it might have even possibly been a little bit of a wash up there. But still keeping it together nonetheless, and Douglas Bell doing a phenomenal job just trying to keep himself away from this field. But now Cody Giles starting to challenge that here through turn 2 onto the short straightaway, heading into turn 3. Let's see what these drivers are going to do here this time around. We've got a couple drivers going 3 wide, 2 wide, and depending on where you're looking at the moment. Mike Howerton moving his way up into the top 5 through turn 3, out onto the long straightaway. We've got a driver going down into pit road. Cody Giles on the final lap here. The white flag is out. First place driver Douglas Bell in 11th place, or in the 11 machine, excuse me, leading this field at the moment with over a quarter of a second gap, and that is going to be probably just enough here as David Santini, Mike Howerton, they're both side by side, and it's 2 wide, 3 deep at the moment as we come down the long straightaway heading into turn 2. All Douglas Bell has got to do is just keep it together one more turn, and he comes away with the win here tonight at Pocono. Mike Howerton, he's pushed his way up into the top 3, going to come home with a podium tonight. David Santini as well in 3rd place. Let's see what these drivers have in store as they come across the line here. Douglas Bell, Mike Howerton, not quite going to be close enough, but for these 3 drivers, what an incredible race here today. David Santini coming home with 3rd place, Meyer in 4th, Colby Babber in 5th. But we'll take a look at the post-race results here in just a moment. There they are on our screen. So Douglas Bell again taking home 1st, Mike Howerton in 2nd, David Santini in 3rd, Colby Babber in 4th, Jeff Hooper in 5th, excuse me, Billy Fitzgerald in 6th, Robert Cook in 7th, Evan Longacre in 8th, Mary Stevens in 9th, Chris Hansen in 10th, Greg Newsom in 11th, Scott Steffens in 12th, Cody Giles in 13th, Jeffrey Meyer in 14th, Brett Wall in 15th, Chuck Waldrop in 16th, Bill Dolph in 17th, Matt Knight in 18th. John Binder in 19th, Matt White in 20th, Richard Malugani in 21st, and Chad Gooningsman in 22nd. I hope I got that right this time. But my name is Mason Heinbaugh with Team Goon Squad. Folks, I hope you all enjoyed the coverage here of the 2022 Midwest Sim Racing Association Rapid Fire Pizza Nationals round number 19, the three-sided shape 225. Thank you all for watching, and if you enjoyed what you saw, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Stay tuned as driver interviews are coming up here in just a moment.
All right, everyone, thanks for being with us here at Virtual Pocono here in the MSRA Rapid Fired Pizza National Series race. And we're going to start off with a man who is no stranger at all to the podium this season, and that is David Santini coming in 3rd place. And we're going to be splitting this broadcast up with alongside my interview partner, Evan Longacre, here post-race. And David, man, you are no stranger to this podium, like I mentioned a second ago. And, man, it was kind of wild with that green-white checkered there at the end. What kind of happened with you and your car there in that last couple laps of the race?
Yeah, no, for sure it was. I really didn't know what to expect. I'm pretty sure Colby took 2, and then it's kind of unfortunate what happened there to Jeffrey, and then that kind of mixed it up a little bit with him being on the inside. Doug, I don't know if he didn't have tires or just didn't want to take tires, but I had no idea what was going to happen there. And before that last yellow, I did get into the wall a little bit coming out of 3, so I had a little bit of damage. And I think it was affecting me there because after you got past me, on that back straight there, I mean, you just started kind of taking off. So I think that damage had a little bit more than it should have, but it's iRacing, so what are you going to do? But no, it definitely made for an interesting restart there. Doug hanging on. I mean, great win there. I would have bet that there was no way he was going to hang on with as many people that had fresh tires behind him, but he did, so congrats on that.
So how did that that green-white checker, that caution coming out there with 3 laps to go in the race, like how did that affect your race, and what kind of difference in position did you end up with what you probably would have had if there wasn't a caution?
Well, I was in third coming into that. I was actually hoping for a caution. I didn't think it was going to happen, but I was hoping for it because Doug and Cody just kind of checked out at that point. So it tightened it back up. And then, like I said, I mean, I was coming in for tires no matter what. And then when Doug stayed out, Cody kind of was behind me then. I thought I was in a good spot, but I mean, I still finished in third, so I'm not complaining there. But no, it was fun. Restarts were fun, and like I said, congrats to Doug for holding on. I never thought he would have did that.
Yeah, you know, here in the league, and iRacing has put this feature in for hosted session, which includes league races, with the whole restart zone, which is something we're not having to deal with in official races yet. But how do you think that's playing a role, not just in this race tonight, but the league races in general and this race specifically? I know that happened to Jeff, and so yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on the whole restart zone and this new implementation or use of it here in the league?
I think it's taken a little getting used to, but I definitely enjoy it more because before, as soon as the pace car pulled off, I mean, you're coming out of turn 3 or 4, depending on what track it is, and you can just take off, and you're not ready for it. So essentially anywhere from there till the green flag comes out, you can go. Now here you have more of an idea of where that leader is going to go, so you can be a little bit more ready. Not saying it's easy, but it definitely gives you more of a heads up as to what's going to happen, and it makes it a little bit more interesting for sure.
Well, David, congratulations on your podium finish tonight. And do you have any final thoughts anybody want to thank here as we close out your interview?
Just a big thanks to everybody for coming out, you for doing the interviews, of course. We've had a lot of good races here in the past, and seems like we're going the right direction here. Rapid Fire Pizza and Evan, and, of course, us over at Old School Ninjas, and again, everybody behind the scenes who helps out each and every week.
Awesome. There you have it from our third place podium finisher tonight, David Santini. And I'm going to go ahead and hand things over to my broadcast partner here, Evan Longacre.
Yes, I'm going to hop in here and interview the top 2 as our resident post-race reporter, Mike Howerton, has found himself right square in the middle of the podium. So, Mike, why don't you tell me a little bit about your race, how your car was at the beginning and how it transitioned, and just, tell me about, the beginning about till the middle of the race.
Yeah, I haven't had a whole lot of time to put in tons of practice here this week. I think I've ran 3 official races, plus maybe about a half hour, 45 minutes of practice on top of that the other day. And, so I came in tonight feeling comfortable with the track and my set, but I still didn't have it tuned in yet. And I struggled the first part of the race, tapped the wall with my right rear just a bit. And I think Britt Wall got loose coming through the tunnel turn once, and I kind of smacked him a little bit in the rear end. Not super hard, but enough for a 4X. And then when we went in on the stage pit stop, I had like 14 seconds of optional, so it wasn't a lot. And I really wore out my front tires bad, and that's odd for me. So, yeah, I made a few very minor adjustments in the pits to my set. And then I just drove a bit different. And then, the first like 10 laps right before that caution after the stage, I adjusted my driving line a bit and actually picked up a couple of tenths a lap in speed. So, just through running the track and a little bit of the pit stop adjustments, it had me running a bit better in the second half of the race, which really contributed and helped me out to my finish.
No, I got you. Tell me a little bit about, what you were thinking when that first caution came out there at the end of the race and kind of how that final restart played out for you.
Yeah, I had kind of mixed feelings about it. You know, I would think I was either sixth or seventh. I have to go back and look. I think maybe sixth. But anyway, I was in sixth or seventh. I think I just passed somebody for sixth place. And I thought I was going to catch Billy because Billy was ahead of me, and that would have been a top 5. And so, you know, I didn't know for sure if I was going to get around him or not. I thought for sure I was going to catch him. But whether or not you can catch somebody and get around them is two different things. And so I thought I was going to be able to. And so I was actually comfortable with that, a 5th, 6th place finish tonight. And this isn't one of my strongest tracks. I mean, I'm okay here, but it's not one of my strongest. So I was actually comfortable with where I thought I was going to finish without the caution. And so when the caution came out, it was one of those deals where, like, man, I was happy with where I was at, but we'll see what happens. You know, it's definitely mixed feelings about it. And then, you know, then we were talking in Discord, the team was, about whether or not we were going to pit or not. And I was like, you know, I was sitting in like 5th or 6th place at that point, and I'm like, you know what? I was like, I'm going in. I don't care. I was like, I don't care who goes in. I'm going in because if some people are going to go in with me, and I may drop 4 or 5 spots, but I think I can get 4 or 5 back and at least break even. But if everybody goes in except maybe the leader, I might pick up some spots or something. And so I went in, took tires, came out, and then we had that first restart, and then it was immediate caution thrown, and I picked up like 2 spots on that first restart. So I went from like 8th or 7th or 8th up to 5th, I think, on the restart. And then on the second restart there, I started in 5th place. And then, yeah, we went ahead and finished second for the race. So, yeah, that's kind of what my thoughts were. So it was definitely mixed. I wasn't necessarily happy about it because I was comfortable where I was at. But at the same time, it was an opportunity to pick up spots, but it was also an opportunity to get involved in a wreck, too, which I know happened to a few guys. So.
There on that final lap, do you think there was anything that you could have done differently to try and take a win there, or tell me a little bit about that?
Well, first I want to thank David Santini. Like, yeah, he talked about in his interview a second ago that he'd kind of hit the wall or hit something, I can't remember, just got a little bit of damage. And, you know, these Xfinity cars in iRacing, it feels like their body's made out of paper mache. You know, you get a little tiny bit of damage and you know, you get a lot of aero resistance and it slows you down some. And I got on the inside of him there, headed into turn 1 on that last lap, and I was ahead of him. I think his bumper was at about my door on the outside, and we were coming to the tunnel turn, and he lifted and let me through without going too wide in the tunnel turn. So he didn't have to do that. It would have been very dangerous, probably at that point, both on fresh tires, cold tires, going into that tunnel turn, turn 2. So there's a lot of risk and not a whole lot of reward either way. He was either getting second or third. If he lifted, he was getting third pretty much for sure. So I appreciate him making that decision, and I would like to think that if the tables were turned and he was, you know, half a car length ahead of me on the inside, that I would do the same for him. I think that saved both of us to having decent finishes. So first of all, talking about that last lap, that really helped me. So I appreciate David doing that. And then after that, man, David let me through there in the tunnel turn, and as soon as I saw him lift, I just give it the gas coming out of that tunnel turn and just didn't look back. I shoved the gas down and headed in the short chute, and then I got a great run because Doug was on like lap 63 tires, and I knew it, and so I didn't overdrive the entry to turn 3. I wanted to get him on exit, and I had all the momentum, and I saw Doug playing defense, and man, me and Doug have raced together so much in the past that, like, I know sometimes I know the things he's going to do and he taught some of them to me, and I knew what he was doing, and I give it all the gas I could coming out without spinning, and I was hoping I could get underneath him, and he came down, and like I said, like I was telling Doug a minute ago on post-race there before the interviews, when we were talking, that, I mean, that was just amazing defense by him. The only thing I could have done differently, and that was really your question, was I guess I could have not tried to do it clean. And if I would have intended from the beginning to try to get my bumper under him, I probably could have turned him for the win. But I don't want to win like that, and I don't want to race like that. But that's the only thing I could have done different because Doug's defense was perfect.
I gotcha. Well, is there anyone that you want to shout out or anyone that you want to thank as we wrap up your interview here tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I just want to thank Doug for the good racing there at the end. I appreciate the defense. You know, if I would have cracked my throttle, I wouldn't have got him. And if I would, and I ended up tapping him in the rear end because I didn't let off my throttle. I just kept it down, and I hit him pretty square in the rear end, and that slowed me up a bit. So he got to finish ahead of me, and you know, we kept it clean. He had great defense. It brought back some memories of last year. Me and him finished first, second, a lot of races last year in official races and B Open. So that was fun. And brought back some memories. So I want to thank him for that. Evan, I appreciate you taking over the second half of the post-interview duties for me here so I could do my interview. Appreciate that. And as always thank our sponsors for paying for the broadcasts every week and helping keep this league together financially. So that'd be Old School Ninjas and the sponsor of the league's named after. That's Rapid Fired Pizza. So appreciate that. Goon Squad does a heck of a job on the broadcast, so appreciate them. And appreciate all the viewers for tuning in and watching. And we're coming out next week. It's going to be at a road course, so we'll see what happens there. But, yeah, just want to thank everybody for a nice race. It was a very pleasant race tonight, and I said appreciate Doug for the good finish there at the end with me.
Awesome. Well, that was our second place finisher tonight, otherwise known as our resident broadcaster or resident post-race reporter, Mike Howerton. So congratulations to Mike there on his second place finish. Now we are going to move on to our race winner tonight, Doug Bell. So Doug, why don't you tell me a little bit about your race? This is you've been you're getting a little familiar with Victory Lane here the last couple of weeks. So tell me what that's like, winning with some consistency.
Well, this week I actually had the pace to win. Last week I didn't, kind of just lucked into it because of a couple of things. But first off, I should thank David Robertson, and I think Chris Robertson had a hand in the set, Seth Reeder, and I think it was G-Main somehow, so ESC, Lowline, all them guys. The set was amazing. Starting out, I realized it was a little tight and had to make some changes that were kind of blind, and it made the car just haul ass. So, yeah, everything went great. Car was awesome. I just had to take my time, get through the field, and put the giant douche in Victory Lane. So.
Well, tell me what you were thinking and what your situation was there at the end of the race when that green light checkers came out.
I didn't want to get behind people with two tires, and I thought Clean Air would be able to beat two tires in a 3-lap run. And because, the rule is you can't put past start limit here, you can't change lanes early, so there'd be no way to get a run with 4 tires. So I thought, well, if I could just stay out. Now, the first restart, I thought I was pretty effed. But after we had the second go-around, allowed the tires to cool off, and I kind of knew I had it at that point because 4 tires wouldn't have a chance to get through all the 2 tires. And I was pretty sure I had 2 tires just on setup alone, no matter how old my tires were.
I got you. So run me through that last restart, kind of what your game plan was, or how you were feeling, and then what you were thinking as you saw Mike Howerton's car getting bigger in that rearview mirror.
So right before the restart, we started going. Like I said, I think Howerton was on 2. He might have been on 4, but I doubt it. So I just had to be able to outrun him for 2 laps, and that's all it came down to. And I know how he drives, and I was kind of shocked he didn't overdrive 3. That shocked me pretty much. And I was going to slow him down in the middle of 3, but it didn't work out that way. So when he actually backed it off, I dove it in, and then we're just playing mirror driving on exit. And I figured if I could just line him up just right, I'll get popped to the lead, or I'll get popped to the finish line, and we'll be good to go. And that's how it worked. So.
Well, what are your thoughts and feelings moving forward now that you kind of come in and definitely had some pretty quick success? What's your thoughts and feelings moving forward?
The league's nice and clean. The racing was really good. Starting in the back, having to drive up through the field. There were some guys who fought, but they fought nice and clean. Had a good time. I was just lucky to have a really good set. That's about all I can say.
I gotcha. Well, next week we're heading into a road course. How do you feel about those?
Are you really doing Indy road course? Oh, man, how do I feel about that? Only NASCAR could go to the world's greatest oval and drive on a friggin' road course. Only NASCAR.
That's a pretty easy to interpret, thoughts and feelings on that one. So congratulations there, Doug. Is there anyone else you haven't mentioned that you think that you would like to thank for tonight's race?
No, that's about it. I guess my dad's genitalia, because if not for him, I wouldn't be here today. So, yeah.
Well, that was our first place finisher there, Doug Bell, so congratulations to him. Thanks to everyone who helps us put on this league. Thanks to Goon Squad for putting out the broadcasts. Thank you to Mike Howerton for doing the interviews at the end of these. Thank you to David Santini and Old School Ninjas for being a presenting league sponsor, and thank you to Rapid Fire Pizza for being the title sponsor for our league. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and I hope everyone has a good night, and we will see you guys next time.